Myself, Dr. Meghna Trivedi, working in UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Center since 5 years under continuous physiotherapy education. Today my topic is physiotherapy management in peripheral vascular disease. So my content is definition and classification, risk factors, types, physiotherapy assessment and physiotherapy management. So first definition. Peripheral vascular disease is used to designate a group of disease affecting blood vessels, arteries and veins and lymphatics, characterized by reduction in blood flow, hence oxygen through peripheral vessels. When the need of oxygen for the tissues exceeds the supply, areas of ischemia and necrosis will develop in extremities. Consist of mainly two types, peripheral arterial disease and peripheral venous disease. Next is risk factors. First is smoking. Smoking releases carbon monoxide and nicotine, so that effect on intima of vessels. Second one is diabetes, leads to anoxia to endothelium. Hypertension causes steatosis. Hypercholesterolemia cause increase in low density lipoprotein, cause abnormal cell metabolism. Next is hypercoagulable syndrome, which leads to blood clotting. And last one is homocystinemia. Peripheral arterial disease, a type of arteriosclerosis involving deposits of fatty substance, calcium and fibrin in inner lining of arteries, more usually the legs. What is arterial insufficiency? So there is a disease, blood flow towards the tissues producing ischemia. Pulses are usually diminished or absent. Sharp stabbing pain occurs because of ischemia, particularly with activity. There is an interference with nutrients and oxygens arriving to the tissues, leading to ischemic ulcers and changes in the skin. Types of peripheral arterial diseases. Mainly there are 5 types: arteriosclerosis obliterans, arterial embolism, Raynaud's phenomenon, aneurysm and thromboangiitis obliterans. Peripheral venous disease. There is alteration in transport of blood from capillary back to the heart. So changes in smooth muscle and connective tissue make the vein less distensible with limited recoil capacity. Valves may cause malfunction, causing backflow of blood. Vijo's triad includes blood stasis, leads to vessel or injury and altered blood coagulation. What is venous insufficiency? So there is a disease return of blood from tissue to heart, leads to venous congestion and stasis of blood. Pulses are present and that will result in edema, skin changes and static ulcers. This picture is showing edema and skin changes. Peripheral venous disease, mainly 4 types: thrombophlebitis, deep vein thrombosis, varicose vein and Buerger's disease. Clinical manifestation. So first, primary varicositis. It will lead to gradual onset and affect superficial veins, appearance of dark tortuous veins, and pain quality will be dull ache, muscle cramps, pressure, heaviness or fatigue arising from reducing blood flow to the tissues. Secondary includes secondary varicositis, affect the deep veins, occur due to chronic venous insufficiency or venous thrombosis. Edema, pain changes, changes in skin color, ulceration may occur from venous stasis. Physiotherapy assessment. So first of all, screening for peripheral arterial disease. History taking includes history of severe pain in legs, increases on walking, decreases with rest. Review of previous medical records include drug history and surgical history. Physical examination, inspection, auscultation, spatial test and palpation. First, then inspection for following: check for any trauma, previous surgery scars, muscle wasting or muscle asymmetry, edema and erythema. Ulcers. There are mainly 2 types. Arterial ulcers tend to be on borders, like on side of foot. Neuropathic ulcers on plantar surface of foot, and in venous ulcer it will tend to on middle aspect of leg, superior to medial malleolus. Then check for if hair is absent, shiny skin, hemosiderin deposition or lipodermatosclerosis. This picture is showing skin appears to be glossy and hairless with edema. On palpation, check for temperature. If temperature is cool, it will suggest poor circulation and both sides should be compared. For pitting edema, it will tested for dependent location on dorsum of foot. If present, then on shin. If patient has been in bed for longer time, then period of time one should check on the sacrum also. Capillary refill time should be less than 3 seconds. On auscultation, this picture is showing auscultation site for femoral bruits. Special test includes mainly 2, claudication test and ankle brachial index. Ankle prickle index ranges and indication are as below. Greater than or equal to 1.2 indicates falsely elevated, like in arterial disease or in diabetes. 1.19 to 0.95 indicates normal. 0.94 to 0.75 indicates mild arterial disease or intermittent claudication. 0.74 to 0.50 indicates moderate arterial disease or wrist pain. And less than or equal to 0.50 indicates severe arterial diseases. Assessment of arterial insufficiency. First of all, Burz's test. With the patient supine, note the color of feet of soles. This should be pink. Then elevate both legs to 45 degrees for more than 1 minute. Observe the soles. If there is a marked pallor, then go for rubor of dependency. Seat the patient upright and observe the feet. In normal patient, feet quickly turn pink. If more slowly they turn red like a cooked lobster, it will suspect the ischemia. This picture is showing Burz's test and rubor of dependency. Special test, mainly 3 types. First test is enable one to judge the condition of valvular apparatus. It will include 2, Trendelenburg test and Haken-Brug's test. Second one, test enables insufficient perforating veins, mainly 2 types, Pratt's test and Skene test. And third one is test enable the patency of profound veins. It includes matching test. First, Trendelenburg test, in which patient is lying on his back, then raises one leg. When the blood has drained from superficial veins, greater subcutaneous vein is compressed in the place where it joins the femoral vein, and keeping the finger there, the patient is asked to rise. If venous trunk swells quickly when the finger is removed, we can conclude that ostial valve is incompetent. Next is Haken-Brug's test. First, place your hand on thigh where the greater subcutaneous vein joins the femoral vein. Then ask the patient to cough. You can feel throbs over the vein, which points to incompetence of ostial valves. Next is Pratt test, in this test, after draining of subcutaneous vein, the lying patient leg is bandaged with elastic bandage, which compresses superficial veins. Apply elastic bandage, roll from toes to groin. The distance between bandages should be 5 to 6 cm. Tourniquet vein ties at groin. Bandage is then taken off and applied in the reverse direction. Blowout seen at the site of perforation. Skene test, in which patient is placed on the back, his legs are raised, and after draining of superficial veins, 3 tourniquets are applied. Patient is asked to rise. A quick swelling of veins between tourniquets points to an incompetent perforating vein in this place. Next one is double marching test. A tourniquet is compressing only superficial vein is applied to standing patient's thigh, whose subcutaneous veins are maximally full. Then the patient is asked to walk on the one spot for 3 to 5 minutes. If the vein deflate, it means the profound veins are patent. If the veins do not deflate or it gets swell, it will mean that profound veins are obliterated. Last one is Lowenberg test, in which cuff of Rivorecki machine is applied to lower 1/3 of shield and air is slowly pumped into it. If sharp pain develops when the pressure in the cuff rises to 150 mmHg, it is characteristic of thrombophlebitis of profound veins. Next is medical management. First of all, aspirin, then clopidogrel or Plavix and statins. Exercise testing include mainly 2 tests, pharmacological stress test for patient with claudication and bicycle test instead of treadmill test. Physiotherapy management. First of all, aims of management. We have to think or we have to counsel about smoking cessation, regular exercise session, diet modification, consideration for amputated patients, consideration for post-surgical patient, and last one, improve quality of life of patient. For first smoking cessation, we have to counsel the patient and we can advise nicotine patches or gum. For diet modification, we have to advise patient multi-unsaturated fatty acid or polyunsaturated fatty acid instead of single unsaturated fatty acid. Next one is whole grains, fruit, vegetable and nuts, omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil and dietary supplements of folic acid for B6 and B12 vitamins. Supervised exercise program, which is individually tailored for each patient. Exercise program include type exercises aerobic, mode interval training, duration is 30 minutes with rest period in between and we can progress to 50 minutes. Frequency will be 3 times per week. Intensity will be measured by intermittent claudication rating scale and calf muscle to be spared so that claudication does not limit activity. Next one, warm up for 5 to 10 minutes of treadmill walking and stretching. Two graded protocols are used in claudication patients. These protocols are performed on treadmill. First is Gardner-Skinner protocol, in which we have to start with 2 meter per hour and grade increases by 2% every 2 minutes. And Hyatt protocol, speed will be 2 meter per hour, graded increase by 3.5 every 3 minutes. Exercise testing or exercise training. Upper limb strength training, we will start with weight cuffs. For lower limb strength training, we will include isometric and TheraBand exercise, balance and proprioception training, gait training, and last one, cool down. Consideration for post-revascularization, in which angioplasty patients are ready for rehabilitation program within a week or 2 weeks. For abdominal surgery, it will take 6 to 8 weeks. And any bypass graft surgical case of lower limb, it should be taken care for, such as sharp knee flexion. It could be avoided so that graft crossing to the knee will avoid to kink. And cycle are permissible with proper seat height adjustment. Consideration for amputated patient, in which psychosocial evaluation will be most. To rule out anxiety, depression, stress by evaluation tools, we can use 3 tools: Modified SF-36, Beck Depression Index, BDI, and Beck Anxiety Index, BAI. Stump management, training for balance and proprioception, and gait training. Prevention for deep venous thrombosis. It requires prophylactic use of stockings for person involved in jobs that will require continuous standing for long hours. And ergonomic advice will be: do not keep your legs in independent position for a long time. Elevate the leg up to 30 degrees with pillow at ankle and during sleep at night. Edema reduction, we will include Faradayism under pressure, in which clothing should be removed. Patient will be in supine or sitting position. The limb is elevated above the heart level using pillows. Pressure bandage is applied over the electrode with maximal pressure from distal to proximal, and skin must be cleaned before the treatment. Placement of electrode for lower limb. Active electrode place will over belly of calf muscle, and passive electrode will place over the sole of the foot. This picture is showing electrode placement for Faradayism under pressure for lower limb. Next one is pneumatic compression device. Altering application and release of compression every few seconds for a total of 45 minutes to an hour for 3 to 4 or more hours each day. Increase blood flow by mimicking the calf muscle pump that occurs during ambulation. It will enhance the blood flow in the deep veins, increases systemic fibrolytic activity, and that will lead to increase in arteriovenous pressure gradient, result in large pulse pressure, and thereby may enhance arterial inflow. High elevation pressure bandaging, in which varicose ulcer padding should be given above the ulcer and ulcer area should be kept dry. Care of paresthetic limb. Inspect daily for bruises, cracks, blisters, swelling, dry skin, and discoloration. Berger-Allen exercises, in which elevate patient feet or legs till feet will turn blanch or whitish, then lowering them till turn red, then resting leg or feet will be in horizontal position. Patient perform exercises lying in bed or sofa. Patient is instructed to watch the changes in color blanching, indicates inadequate blood supply. Maintaining this position could harm the tissues. This picture is showing, first of all, patient will elevate the legs, then patient will go into sitting position and patient will perform ankle movements, and then he or she has to observe the color of the limb. Therapeutic effect of this exercise, it will decrease pathogenic venous capacity of lower extremities, functional improvement of insufficient valvular apparatus, increase resorption of tissue fluid in venous part of capillary, its decreased filtration in the arterial part, and it will increase the fibrolytic activity of blood. This table is showing main difference between arterial and venous disease. First of all, skin. In arterial disease, it will, on palpation, it will be cold, hairless, dry, shiny, paler on elevation, and rubber on dangling. And in venous diseases, skin will be warm, though thickened, mottled, pigmented areas will be shown, and pain. In pain, arterial diseases, pain quality will be sharp stabbing or aversion with activity, and walking and lowering feet may relieve pain. In venous disease, pain quality will be achy, cramping, activity and walking sometimes help, and elevating feet will relieve in pain. For ulcers, arterial disease, ulcers will be severely painful, pale, on grey base, found on heel, toes or nosome of foot. For venous diseases, it will be moderately painful, pink base, found on middle aspect of ankle. And then next one, pulse. For arterial disease, pulse will be absent or diminished, and venous diseases, pulse will be present. Edema, arterial diseases, in edema infrequent it will be not present, and in venous diseases, edema will be present frequently at the end of the day and in areas of ulceration. Thank you.